Alright, today we're going to be doing a gang view of a fantastic open world survival craft game, vrising. Man, I am excited for this one. I got vrising back in 2022 when it was in early access, and even back then, I was immediately impressed. And over time, this game has only improved in quality. With these large open world games, there are a lot of aspects to consider. So let's talk about the survival craft aspect of vrising first. An issue which can turn people off similar games is the resource grind. This issue can be compounded when there's multiple players on your server and everyone's trying to split resources for gear and weapons. For example, in similar games like Valheim, it is brutal to collect necessary resources every time you reach that new region, need to level up your gear. Considering most playthroughs, we also have at least 5 people sharing these resources, and this collection process turned into a frustrating slog. vrising follows the classic pattern of acquiring newly available resources in the newly unlocked regions to craft better gear, but the collection process is the best I've seen. Not only is it much easier than most games, but you can also modify the resource collection rates in the game lobby to really speed through this and keep things balanced with more players. Furthermore, I think this process is actually fun. I think this is credited to the beauty of all the different regions and how you have to adjust your exploration methods to fit the different areas. The sunlight mechanic during the day makes exploration consistently interesting because you have to jump from shadow to shadow during the day and take your fights very carefully. Other regions make exploration more challenging, like the Gloomrot North, which is constantly under assault from lightning strikes, or the Cursed Forest, which slowly makes your entire map foggy if you stay in for too long. Lastly, the blood mechanic is an incredibly unique concept of this game. Different living beings have different blood types, and they give you different bonuses depending on which blood type you currently have. This blood type can also range from 1 to 100%, with the better quality giving you better bonuses. This mechanic makes exploration even more interesting because you're always on the hunt for that sweet, sweet high quality blood. Next, we'll talk about the building aspect of vrising. This game has a pretty unique building structure because it's all very geometric. You pick a plot of land, of which there are many to pick from, and then you build your castle within this plot on a grid system. While this building style is fairly restrictive, you can still make some incredible castles that look gnarly as hell. I don't even consider myself a good builder, but you can see what I've made here. The restrictive geometric grid system makes building really easy and intuitive. A new player can figure out this system within a few minutes and start building something great. In similar games, we've encountered a lot of really buggy building mechanics, but we've never found an issue with the building here. There are also a lot of options between different structures, wallpapers, lighting, and flooring. Every time we start a new server, I make a different castle, which always feels distinct from the last. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk about the combat. Man, the combat in this game is so damn good. I really can't give this fighting system enough praise. In a lot of similar games we've played like Valheim, Return to Moria, or Grounded, the main thing that I believe is lacking is a satisfying combat system. It is common for other games in this genre to have a combat system which just includes a block, a roll, and then left-clicking to swing your melee weapon or ranged weapon. But vrising? vrising said, well, here, watch this.
the paper cut! Give me your life, my minion.
Prove yourself.
This game feels like the Doom of survival craft with how crazy some of these boss fights are. You're dashing, countering, you're alting, spamming weapon skills and spells, and you're sweating the whole damn time because it is so intense. It's because these fights are so intense and the combat is so smooth and fluid that victory feels so satisfying. There were some new boss fights we did in our most recent run that took us over 20 tries, and we were screaming when we finally got that drink V-Blood option. Once you hone your skills and really memorize the boss patterns, it is so incredibly satisfying to flawlessly skirt around the battlefield while you're blocking attacks and throwing out damage. Speaking of the bosses in this game are so well done. There are 57 bosses in the game and each one feels incredibly unique. You really can't compare any boss to another boss because they each have a super distinct pattern, spell catalog, and abilities. Furthermore, the boss arenas are all visually incredible and match their theme great. There's also a great amount of variety when it comes to customizing your class. There's a good collection of weapons to fit your playstyle, and each weapon grants you 2 new weapon abilities. There are also 6 schools of magic for players to pick spells from, and a large pool of passive abilities as well. You can combine spells from these different magical schools to create the perfect spell set to fit your playstyle. Every time we start a new run, I try the game with a new weapon set and a different playstyle to make the playthrough unique. There is even more variety when you consider all the different blood types and their quality. For example, with my blood, I went Root and Rogue blood for the final Dracula fight, while my brother went Scholar and Draculan blood to fit his build. Because of all these factors, vrising has overall great replay value. I could talk about this game for hours, and we haven't even discussed some of the other really cool mechanics like servants or spell jewels or shapeshifting. But before this Gangview gets too long, let's talk about some critiques. I really don't have much bad to say about this game, but there are a few areas I can address. Although I like the building system, I could see some people getting annoyed with how restrictive it can be. The day-night cycles, namely the daytime, can definitely be frustrating when trying to gather resources or fight certain bosses. For example, the first time we fought Belmont, he destroyed all of the trees around us within a few seconds, and we all burnt to death. While I think this keeps the game interesting, I could definitely see why some people would prefer not to have that mechanic at all. Lastly, some of the bosses on the same tier or in the same act seem substantially more difficult than their counterparts. For example, Merwin the Elementalist in Act 4 is the exact same level as Morion the Stormwing Matriarch, but the Elementalist is significantly harder than the Harpy Queen. Harpy's one of the easiest bosses. Alright, that concludes the Gangview, so let's get to the breakdown. Here's Nate Dwag, Daddy Dave, Squap, and myself. Add that all together, do a little math. vrising, you get an 8.9 out of 10 on the gang scale. Alright. Thanks for watching and sticking around this far. If you want to support the channel, remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel more directly, consider becoming a channel member. See ya.
Witness the might of the true immortal king. Defeated by my own power.